Hey, 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 it's Carmina again. I'm back this time with a story, the story of Ben Comen. And I'm a little behind time today. I was hoping to get there at 8, didn't happen, but I am here. And I am still looking forward to sharing this story with you. I am not a sports fan by any means, even though I played sports almost my whole life, at least when I was growing up. But I'm not a fan of watching sports, so I know, I'm becoming unpopular by the minute. But one thing I do really enjoy are athlete stories, like sports stories, sports movies, because I find them so inspiring. So today I want to share with you the story of Ben Comen. Hey, I see that you guys are coming in, so welcome. Please let me know that you're here. Drop me a comment in the comment box. That way I can give you a shout out, and hopefully today Facebook will cooperate and let me know and let me see your comments as I'm speaking. So if you're just coming in, first of all, thank you for being here. Happy to see you. And I'm going to tell you the story of Ben Comen. Have you ever heard of Ben Comen? Maybe not. He is not a world famous athlete. However, he has won many awards. There was even a movie made about him. And yet, Ben has never won a race. He is a cross-country runner. He has never run a race. And you may ask, well, why is he so important and why are we talking about him? Well, Tony Robbins has one saying that I really like. And Tony Robbins says that the quality of your life is determined by the quality of the questions that you learn to ask. And Ben Comen asked 3 simple questions. He asked why, what, and how. So when Ben was born, he was born with cerebral palsy. He was one of a pair of twins, and his brother was perfectly healthy, and Ben unfortunately or fortunately was born with cerebral palsy, which means that his intelligence is intact. However, his muscles are, atrophied. So for example, his left arm is permanently bent at a 90-degree angle. His left leg is stiff, which means that he can't really lift it. So if you can just kind of picture in your head somebody with a stiff leg who's trying to run. And because he can't lift his leg that high, the left leg, it also means that he falls at every turn. Like the smallest twig on the ground will cause him to fall. And yet, he is a cross-country runner. Cross-country does not happen on even surfaces. It happens on rough terrain. And that's what he chose to do. And so remarkably, his questions was not why, or like, why me, or why did this happen to me, right? Instead, he took what he was handed and he made the best of it. Now, because of his physical impairment, Ben, when he finishes a race, he falls all the time, as you can imagine. And for us who are not physically challenged, when we fall, our instincts is to brace ourselves, right? However, Ben's reflexes are too slow. So when he falls head first. And so at the end of a 5K race, he's bruised and he's often bloodied. So a reporter asked him one time, he said, Ben, of all the things you could do, why do you run? And he said, well, I like to show people that, you can either keep trying or you can quit. And it's so much more fun to keep trying, right? And his drive and determination is what makes up for whatever he lacks in physical ability. And his coach, had to say about him that, in his 31 years of coaching, he had never met another kid with such drive. There was not an inch of Ben's body that did not need to be bendage. Okay? And, like every kid, well, most kids, Ben's dream has always been to play sports, right? And he always wanted to be part of a team. So in the past, he's been part of the team. Coaches will let him join the team, but his participation was limited to the bench or, on the sideline. So he wasn't competing. He wasn't really doing much. And so when he started high school, he decided to try out for the cross country running team, and he made the team, right? And, for him, it was not about winning races, right? It wasn't about being the fastest, because he's, like I said, he's very smart. So he knows, he's very conscious of his physical limitations. And what I find remarkable about him is that very early on, he figured out how he was going to contribute to his team. And his contribution was the inspiration that he provided to his teammates, to the people who were watching him. Because, you see, what takes an average runner 20 minutes to complete takes Ben at least 45 minutes. And his reason for being on, for participating was not to win the race. He's never won a race. His reason for participating was to beat his own time. Okay, that was his competition himself. And I have to tell you that when Ben graduated high school and he ran his last race as a high schooler, that last race, there was not a dry eye in the audience. People were cheering, they were applauding. You would have thought that he had just won the Boston Marathon. But what had happened is that Ben had actually done it. He had actually won. And his victory that day was coming in under 41 minutes. He did it. He beat his own time. He set a whole new record for himself. Right? And for you, I'm curious, what is your 41 minutes? What is that thing that is challenging to you that, may seem impossible, but this is what you are in competition with yourself for, to see how can I overcome this challenge? And for me, this is why Ben's story is so inspiring. Here's somebody who is putting himself through so much pain, so much hardship, not because he wants to show that he's better than anybody else, but to beat his own record. And something really remarkable started happening. It became a tradition at Hannah High. This is the high school that he attended. The kids were so inspired by him that not only his teammates, but even the competition, they started, once they were done with their race, once they had crossed the finish line the first time, they would all come around and run with Ben the remaining of his race. So they would all lined up beside him and behind him, and together with Ben leading the way, they would cross the finish line a second time. I don't know if you ever get a chance to watch that movie. It's very short. It's about 9 minutes. If you Google it, you'll find his story. It is so touching to see that group of kids just rallying around a leader, because that's what Ben is. Rallying around their leader, stopping when he stops, matching his gait, right? Because they were so inspired by his courage, by his drive, and his determination. And what I'm hoping that you get from this story, right, is the inspiration to stay in competition with yourself, and more importantly, not to get discouraged, right? So every time you're tempted to say, I'm not good enough, I could have done this better, I want you to remember Ben Comen's story, because that's what his story is about. It's about beating his 41 minutes. That was the victory, right? I mean, because if you think about it, think about when was the time when you were proud of yourself? Were you happy then? Happiness doesn't come from fame or success or money. We all know that. Happiness comes from the feeling of satisfaction, right? That we have when we know that we've done our best, that we've given it our all. This is where happiness comes from, right? And the next time you're tempted to say, I'm not good enough, please remember that you are so much better, so much stronger than you think you are. So I hope that Ben's story has inspired you as it has inspired me over the years. And for you, those of you joining in, I hope that you had a chance to hear a little bit of what I was saying, and that you go out and look for that story for yourself. And I bet you're going to cry. It is so moving. So that's my message for today. And tomorrow night at 8 o'clock, I will be here again, and I will share with you 5 questions to ask before you let your feet hit the floor in the morning. My name is Carmina Mez. I am a power walker. I walk for purpose, I walk for strength, and I walk for peace of mind. And I will keep on stepping because I know that the journey is the reward, and I'm heading in the right direction. So hope to see you someday inside our private Walk It Off community. And until then, keep on stepping. See you next time. Bye for now.